Hello cherry lovers, I'm back and I have the most amazing cinnamon roll recipe. It's fluffy, soft, and out of this world, so stay tuned. Okay guys, the first part I'm going to explain to you is the ingredients in the cinnamon roll. Now, we have the frosting and we also have the glaze, the filling also, but I'm not going to give you the ingredients to that because that'll be a little lengthy. So right now I'm just going to explain to you the ingredients in the actual roll. Okay, first of all, we have active dry yeast. Now this is important to remember. This is not the quick yeast. This is the active dry yeast. You want to use 2¼ teaspoons of this, since I don't have the packet. But also, if you have the packets, it's equal to 1 packet. 1 packet is equal to 2¼ teaspoonfuls. Also, we have 4 cups of flour here, 1/3 cup of sugar, also 1 egg well beaten at room temperature, a teaspoon of salt, a half a stick of softened butter, room temperature. Remember, you want that room temperature. We're also going to use 1 cup of hot milk and 1/4 cup of warm water. Now also we have here is about a 1/4 cup of flour. This is what we're going to use on our board when we go to put the dough onto the board. That's for what we're going to use for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to situate these where they need to be at, and then we're going to get started on this amazing recipe. Okay guys, we're back. Now this next step, we've got our 1 cup of hot milk. That milk is very hot. Let me just say this about the milk. In order for you to judge how hot you need the milk, don't let it come to a boil, but let it get hotter and hotter. Just before it comes to a boil, remove it from the heat. And then we're going to add in the butter. And that's going to sit in there and begin to melt. And the next thing we're going to do, I want to show you, this is one of the reasons why I was so afraid to make cinnamon rolls. It's so simple though. Test that water with your knuckle. If that water gets too hot, it's too hot for the yeast. That's perfect. So what we're going to do here, we've got that 1/4 cup of water, and I'm going to add that 1/4 cup of water. Try to remember the reason that the temperature of the water has to be warm is that if your water is too hot, then it will kill the yeast. It'll deactivate it. And if it's too cold, it's not warm enough to activate the yeast. So that's perfect temperature. You don't have to be afraid. That's the reason it took me so long to make cinnamon rolls, because I thought, oh, I'm so tired of all the, you got to get the temperature right. Don't get it too hot. Don't get it too cold. And then I thought, well, just try it, Joyce. And I just followed the directions. I actually put my finger under the water just like I was told. So I don't know if Larry can see this. I'm going to take this off and just mix that up and mix that thoroughly. It's going to take you about 1 or 2 minutes to get that completely mixed up. And after you get this completely mixed up, you want it completely dissolved. You're actually going to let this yeast mixture sit for about 10 minutes. Give it a chance to get frothy, and it'll kind of actually rise a little bit while it's sitting for 10 minutes. But make sure that you thoroughly mix that up before you start your timer for 10 minutes. Now that's just about, that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to sit that back in there and stir it for the remainder of the 2 minutes. At least 1 or 2 minutes, because you want the granules to be completely dissolved. Okay. All right, guys. I'm not going to hold you for the whole 2 minutes, so I'm just going to continue to stir that, and then I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. Okay, now the next part is we've added the butter to the milk. We want to mix that up. Completely mix that up. That's only going to take you about 15 or 20 seconds. Just mix that milk and butter. And the next thing you're going to do is add in your sugar. And we'll stir that and stir that until the sugar granules are completely dissolved. That's going to take you about 2 to 3 minutes to mix that up. But while we're mixing in the sugar granules, we're also going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then we're going to continue to mix that up for the remainder of the 1 to 2, maybe 3 minutes, depending on however long it takes for you to get all your granules dissolved in there. So I'm going to dissolve these granules and I'll be right back. Okay guys, now as you can see, my milk mixture has cooled down nicely. I can handle the glass jar and it's not too hot. And I've stirred it up, dissolved all of the sugar nicely. And now what we're going to do is add the butter and milk mixture right into your yeast mixture. Okay. And stir that up just a bit. Next, we have an egg here. It's been out for room temperature. We want to beat that egg well. I've already beat it, but we're going to give it a nice little stir to make sure that it's fully beaten. And then we're going to add that egg right into the yeast mixture. Okay, give that a little stir. Now the next thing we're going to do is gradually add in the flour until it's completely incorporated. That's going to take about 3 minutes. I'm going to start it out and then I'm going to finish it up off screen. Okay, now we're going to add my little attachment here. Make sure I lock that in. Several times I've actually thought it was locked in and it came loose. So we're going to let that down. Lock that in, turn it on low. Okay, now we're going to start that up while that's mixing that up. Now what I'm going to do here is gradually add in this flour. Now one thing I want you to know that these KitchenAids are famous for, and that's sending flour everywhere. I don't want to have to stop it, start it, stop it. So I'm just going to add that flour while it's still moving. And I'm going to try not to get it everywhere. As you can see, that just continues to mix it up nice and blend it, and it's on a low speed. And I'm going to keep it on low until I get all the flour in there. And once I get all the flour in there, I'm actually going to turn up the speed a bit for about 2 minutes. But we're going to get all this flour in there. As that mixes, continues to get that all mixed in there. It's mixing pretty well. It's not gathering up on the sides at all. Not yet anyway. And the idea is to mix this until it actually starts to cling to that mixing tool, which you will see very soon. Okay. That's the last of the flour. Now I'm going to let that mix for about 2 minutes. Okay, that's all done, and I let that go for about 3 minutes. Now, as you can see, I have on gloves. I'm putting these gloves on to take off a little bit of the time of it sticking to my hands and me on camera trying to get it off. So we're going to take this out. And I have my bowl right here. My bowl is already buttered. You can use oil, but I used butter, either one. And you want to pick that up, take that out. Nice ball. And put that into your bowl. And with these gloves that I put some butter on, then it doesn't stick as much. And I want to get the rest of this out of here. I'm not going to waste this bit of dough. I'm going to get it all out and put that in. As you can see, I buttered the bowl. Now what I'm going to do, because that side has got some butter on it, I'm going to flip that over. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do, take these gloves off. And I have some saran wrap over here. I'm going to grab the saran wrap and I'm going to wrap it securely around this bowl. Now, if you don't have any saran wrap, you can use a towel. Place it over the bowl, but I'm going to wrap it in saran wrap and place this over the bowl. Now, what our goal is, guys, is to get this dough to rise, hopefully double in its size. Now, what you want to do is place it in a nice warm area. Most people don't have a proofing on their oven. I have a proofing on my oven, and I didn't even know that until today when Larry told me that. But I'm just going to stick this in the oven. I've already got my proofing temperature set. I'm going to sit it in there for about an hour and a half, and then we'll come back and check it and see if it's have risen to where I want it to be. And if not, then we'll let it go for another half an hour. So take your time, take a break, do whatever you want to do, because I'll be right back. Okay guys, this is the filling, and it's really, really simple, but it is delicious. What we have here is 1/3 cup of softened butter, room temperature, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1.5 cups of brown sugar, and 2.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. Now, if you like a lot of cinnamon, you can up that another tablespoon and use it 3.5 tablespoons, but I like it cinnamony, but not over cinnamony. So now what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take the brown sugar, we're gonna mix that in there, and we're gonna take the cinnamon, and we're gonna mix that up. Nice and mixed, completely mixed. This is the filling that goes inside of the cinnamon roll before you roll it up. It is delicious. This is one of the most amazing recipes. One thing I have not shared that I wanted to share somewhere during the video, and that is I looked at 7 or 8 different cinnamon roll videos, and I kind of picked what I liked out of them because some of them were so far-fetched and so far different. It was a lot of work and a lot of different ones, but I didn't want to go the lot of work route, and you're probably thinking that seems like a lot to me, but it actually is a shorter route to make the most soft, fluffy, delicious cinnamon rolls. I made this before, and Larry wasn't here at the time, so when he came home, he got a chance to try it, and he loved it. And everyone else that I let take and sneak a roll or two actually loved the recipe. So I said, okay, this is the one I'm gonna stick with. Now, I've got this pretty well mixed up here. The next thing that we're gonna do is take the vanilla and pour it into the softened room temperature butter. And all you're gonna do, guys, is just mix that up. And it's gonna look like it's not mixing very well, but it will. All you have to do is keep stirring, keep mixing, and eventually it will get to the consistency that you want. And what this is right here, guys, we're going to take this and roll this out, spread it completely out onto your cinnamon roll just before we apply the cinnamon and sugar. This is what's going to make the cinnamon and sugar adhere really nicely to your cinnamon roll dough. See how that's coming together? Nice and creamy. That's what you want right there. Okay, I'm going to finish mixing this, and then I'm going to show you how to make the frosting, the icing, the best part of the whole cinnamon roll. Okay guys, this is the consistency you want your butter and vanilla to look like, nice and creamy. And now we're gonna make the frosting. what we're going to add in here first, we have here 4 ounces of cream cheese, room temperature softened. Make sure your cream cheese is softened, room temperature. And also we have 1/4 cup of softened butter. And we're going to add a teaspoon, I'm sorry, I left my teaspoon measure. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to take our blender. Of course, you could do this with your hand, but I'm going to use the blender to mix this up. And that blender is very loud. And that's on low speed. Sorry guys, my blender is very loud. But we just want to mix that up. And we're going to gradually, you don't want to put it all in there. So we're just going to gradually add the powdered sugar. And the reason we're going to gradually add this powdered sugar, because sometimes it can make it kind of lumpy. It'll have lumps in it. We don't want that. And a little bit more. Bring that up nicely. Okay guys, the consistency is the way I like it. It's kind of thick because I do more frosting than drizzling. But if you want yours a little thicker, instead of starting with a teaspoon of milk like I did, you can use a tablespoon of milk at a time to get it to be to your liking, to how thin you want it. But that's nice and creamy, and that's how I like it, and that's where we're going to leave it at. Okay, now the dough has been in the oven probably about 20 minutes, so it's going to take about 1.5 to 2 hours, but I will come back and check it in about an hour and a half. Now I'm all done kneading. That was 5 minutes of kneading. What we're going to do now, I'm going to sprinkle a little more flour, and I'm going to roll this out. What I want to do is to get it into like a rectangle shape. If you see one side is a little bit thicker, it's okay. I'll roll that out. All right. Now, let's see. That's maybe need to be a little bit more this way. Try to get it as even as I can. All right, now what we're going to do next, we have here our vanilla and butter mixture, and we're going to spread this out all over the dough. And you want to get it completely covered. Okay, that's just about done. I've got that nicely covered, as you can see. Now, the next thing we're going to do, now that we've got our vanilla and butter mixture spread, we're going to sprinkle on our sugar and cinnamon. And we're going to get that nicely spread out, nice and even, best we can. Sprinkle it out to the edges as far as you can get that. Okay, I'm spreading this out as close to the edges as I possibly can. Now, when I first made this recipe, I had brown sugar going all off the edges everywhere. But one little thing I saw in one of the videos is they took the rolling pin and they rolled the cinnamon roll or the cinnamon mixture into the dough, which means that it wasn't as apt to go all off on the sides because you kind of pushed it down in there with the rolling pin. Now we're all done with that. I'm going to show you how to roll this up. But one thing I wanted to add in too, at this point, you can add in some pecans or some raisins or whatever else you might like. So we're just going to start rolling that. Pull it and roll. Pull it and roll. Pull it and roll. You can get that, try to tuck that and get it as closely and secure as you can to the cinnamon. Pull and roll. So we're just going to continue to tuck and roll. Tuck and roll. Tuck and roll. There we go. Now, the next thing we're going to do, now that we've got that nice and rolled up, I'm going to move that just a little bit up, and I'm going to take this, and you can just eye it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to need a sharper knife to get those prints in there. What I want to do is, here's about half. Then we're going to do this one about half. And this in about half. Then we're going to do half of that. Half of that. And you're just eyeing it. You don't have to have it perfectly done. And then you do it that half. Now we're going to do this. And then we're going to cut that one. And then we're going to put a slit there. And there. And there. Until we get all the way to the end. Now, you were probably wondering earlier why you saw dental floss in my video. Well, now you're going to find out. You just need to pull off a piece. It's, I don't know, probably about a yard or liter. And you're going to lift that up and you're going to bring it right to that spot. And you're simply going to tie it. And I'm going to show you that makes that look pretty good. We're going to lift that up. Bring that about to that edge where you have that little cut at. We're going to tie it off. And it makes a beautiful, nice cut. Okay, we're going to do one more. Just pull it like that. And then you have this absolutely beautiful, beautiful cut. Okay, here is the finished product before they go into the oven. This is, in this pan right here, as you can see, there's 12 cinnamon rolls, but it actually made 16, so I'm putting them into another container. The recipe does say between 10 and 15, so that's about what I've got. But what we're going to do here at this point, we're going to put this, wrap that on there, and let this sit for another 15, 20 minutes. They're going to rise a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is stick it back into the oven. And let that sit for another 15 minutes. And then we will try out the cream cheese frosting. Okay guys, the timer is about to end in about approximately 1 minute. Take a look at that. I think that is perfect browning. And this is the overflow. Look how much they expanded. They're absolutely beautiful. What we're going to do now is put some frosting on that. Now, as I told you at the very beginning of the video, I love frosting. I'm not a drizzler. I like lots and lots and lots of frosting, so that's what I'm going to do while it's nice and hot. It's going to, whoops, it's going to kind of run over in different places, but I like a lot of frosting. So I'm not going to drizzle. I want it on every crack and crevice of the cinnamon roll, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Put it everywhere. And if I run out of frosting before I put it everywhere, believe me, I'm going to make some more. Turn that off. Now we're gonna layer this, lather it all over. Should have got a bigger spoon. Yes, lots and lots and lots of frosting. That's how I like mine, covered. Put that all over. Oh, look at that, they smell so good. I can't wait to take a bite. Larry's usually the taste tester. I think we're both are gonna be taste testers tonight. How about that?
Well, folks, as you can see, Joyce's is lathered and mine isn't so much, but these are delicious. I've had them before. Look at her eating them. She ain't got time to even say how good they are.
But I have. I want to show them. Look at that. Look how juicy and soft.
Look at that.
Look at that. Soft.
These are amazing.
So
I'm telling you what.
delicious. I've been waiting for these all evening. Look how soft that is.
Oh man, these are delicious. So
They
if you guys
are.
like this video, which she always makes good cooking videos, like and subscribe. Hit that little thumbs up and subscribe and you'll see more of this. So until next time, good night now.
Good night.